Let's go live to former Labor Cabinet Minister Joel Fitzgibbon. Joel, you've seen a few spills in your day. What do you make of the events of today within the Liberals?
Yeah, I've seen a few of these close up, Kieran, and this one was particularly interesting. Lots of strategy going on, of course, up until the meeting this morning, but the outcome was inevitable. You can't have a primary vote at 15% and not do something, and the Liberal Party certainly had to do something. They did it today. What difference it will make remains to be seen. They're going to have to be clear and concise about what they stand for. They need to rebuild their brand. You know, in the old days, people used to look at the two major parties. Labor was, you know, for the workers and strong on hospitals and health and education, and the Liberal Party were supposedly or allegedly the good economic managers and the party that backed small business and larger businesses. But there's no such differentiation for the Liberal Party these days. They just don't have a brand. And if Angus Taylor can rebuild a brand, then they'll improve. But gee, it's going to be a big challenge. And of course, he needs to unite the party, and that won't be easy. There's a lot of blood on the floor in that party room today, and it'll take some cleaning up.
This challenge, and I know you're trying to set it out, but it's so complex, isn't it? When you look at the Farah by-election, the budget coming up around that, but it's really that divide between the Nats, the Community Independent, then One Nation. And you heard Barnaby Joyce, your old mate, he's saying they're going to invest quite a bit into the seat of Farah. So he's you know, got that huge challenge ahead of him, and starting with a real-world electoral test too, Joel.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big a test it will be for Angus Taylor, because it'll be so early in his leadership, and no one will expect him to turn things around too much in that period of time. But it'll take a little bit of bark off if they lose that seat, and lose that seat they might. It's interesting. I've been watching One Nation. I said to you recently, how well One Nation goes from here will largely depend on how well it's building its infrastructure and its capacity to raise funds. And it appears to be having at least a very serious go at that. And I can see the confidence in Barnaby Joyce's eyes. I suspect, I think he joked, maybe he was joking earlier in a text to one of your team that they've already booked the billboards. Now, maybe they have. And if they are already advanced in their selection of a candidate, then it means that they are really changing their ways, looking at the important things like infrastructure and membership and finances. And I suspect they'll be ready for that by-election. I think they'll do well there. So the Nats, I mean, I think Sussan got north of 40% of the primary vote last time, but there was no National Party candidate too. Now, that's Tim Fischer's old seat. The Nats, given their current mood and challenges, will probably run there too. So you're going to have lots of candidates, and I think it's a real risk for the Liberal Party. That seat could go anywhere, but I predict One Nation will poll strongly.
So when you look at One Nation in that Liberal, or as you say, former National seat, Tim Fischer had Farah for a long time. One Nation had quite a presence, and still does in your neck of the woods. No, didn't really get close to Dan Repicoli recently. You've had to combat it over the years. But you see the primary vote, according to the Sky News Pulse conducted by YouGov in this last week, it was to 28% primary One Nation, 2 points behind Labor. It's extraordinary, and ahead of Labor when it comes to working class voters. Is this a challenge now, and eating into the primary for the government as well? Does Prime Minister Albanese and Paul Erickson, do they need to be really attuned to this threat from One Nation themselves?
I think any party which dismisses or is dismissive of One Nation does so at its peril. It needs to be taken seriously. The polls demonstrate that. But, you know, two things. First, the poll, of course, the phone poll is an opportunity for people to send a message. It's not a great predictor for, you know, indicating that they're going to vote for One Nation in 2 years' time. But that point applies too to the by-election in Farah. it's a fantastic opportunity for people to send a very strong message, a protest vote, and I think they will, and that's why I think the Liberal Party is at real risk. Well, the coalition. Well, there's not a coalition. Well, there is a coalition again now. The coalition
It is,
is
they're
at
back.
real risk
They're
of
back.
losing that seat. And of course, will the National Party run in Farah? I think there'll be a big push, given the tensions. I think there'll be a big push for the National Party to run in that seat too. So it could be a five-cornered contest, and where it lands, nobody knows.
Yeah, they've actually got a couple, I think already have put their, hands up just in this last little while. The Nats, Bradley Robertson and independent Michelle Milthorpe, the community independent. So you've got One Nation, the Nats and a Helen Haynes-style, Cathy McGowan-style Indy, because Farah is neighbouring the seat of Indi, where, as you know, Joel, they've had a presence for some time now, those community independents.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And the One Nation has, the Labor Party has a pretty strong presence down in that part of the world too, believe it or not. It could never win the seat, but gee, it could play spoiler if it wanted to. And if it ran a good candidate and, used its preferences smartly and strategically, then the Labor Party could have an impact on that by-election as well. So it's probably a very, very unpredictable by-election, but one thing is very predictable, and that is the Libs will struggle.
One, and I know we're going to wrap up soon, but when you look at the new lineup, to me, and I think it's really likely you see Tim Wilson as shadow treasurer. And as we look to these, matchups, he was really effective on the franking credits issue back against Shorten. He's a really good communicator, Wilson, sharp operator. I think him up against Jim Chalmers will be quite the challenge. I mean, I'm speculating. That's not been announced, just to clarify. It's my, prediction more than anything that Wilson will get it. That'll be quite a confrontation, won't it, those two up head-to-head in Parliament, Joel?
Tim's campaign on franking credits was outrageous, but it was also very effective. Yeah, he's an effective player, and they could do worse than put him in a frontline position. It'll satisfy the moderates too, of course. I mean, rebuilding that unity will be so critical for Angus Taylor now. But of course, Ted's a moderate as well, so he'll need to be accommodated. He needs to mend a lot of bridges now, Angus Taylor. They're going nowhere if he doesn't secure unity, and securing unity in part means sharing the jobs around.
Malcolm Turnbull told the ABC, how's this, Joel? He's told the ABC that Angus Taylor is the most qualified idiot in the Liberal Party who has never successfully delivered any policy, and that the Libs are being driven by their right wing and that they need to move to the contestable centre to win, and says the only party in the centre at present is Labor. What do you make of the comments, and how do you think the Liberal Party needs to take on One Nation?
Well, Karen, even in politics, I always tried not to play the man, not to be personal, and I very solidly adhere to that policy post-politics, absolutely. But I mean, Malcolm's extraordinary, isn't he? I mean, a dalliance with the Labor Party. He went to the Liberal Party. He got to take the top job, and now he spends all of his life criticising the Liberal Party. So, and I understand he's in talks about forming a new party. And I don't know whether it'd be centre-right or what it might look like, but I think it's reaching the point where no one's going to be taking too much notice of what Malcolm has to say.
Joel, it's always good to see you, mate. It's particularly on a big day in politics. We do enjoy the spills, and lovely to hear your thoughts. Thanks, mate. Talk to you soon.